Adding faculty voices and contributions to AI and emerging tech projects. Apparently, we're going to have a projector that blinks every once in a while. But the impetus behind this was, hey, we're seeing a lot about AI at this conference and other emerging technologies, but we also need to talk about the faculty contributions to how they roll out, whether it be across the system, on our campuses, and other places like the regional consortia. And so raise your hand if you're a faculty member in the room. Raise your hand if you're classified staff, administrators, students, someone who's just came in here by mistake. Okay, so we're going to have our illustrious panel do some introductions, and then we're going to jump into some questions that we prepared in advance, but we want to leave time for you, the audience, to have questions as well. So your challenge, if you choose to accept it, is to start thinking of questions that these four bright minds will answer. So I'm going to hand the mic to Andrea to get us started.
Okay, hi, I'm Andrea Fuentes. I'm an instructional designer, ed tech nerd. I'm with Skyline College, and I've been involved with ed tech for quite a while. Won't reveal my age. And I'm going to pass it on to my colleague here.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Garrett Grace, Director of Professional Development for CVC at One. Prior to that role, I served as Dean of Innovation at Merced College, and that's what brings me to the stage today, is really to talk about Dreamscape Learn. And so with Dreamscape Learn, we are now doing a statewide initiative, so I'll talk more about that today of the community of practice. So that brings me here. So happy to be here today.
And I'm Angel Fuentes. I am the Dean of Business Workforce Development, Adult Education, Distance Education, and Dual Enrollment at Evergreen Valley College in San Jose, California, just on the street. And I'm also a faculty member, an adjunct faculty member, since my boss is here, I have to say this, at Ohlone College. I teach astronomy there. That's why I have to leave. I have to go teach. And I'm also heading the NVIDIA MOU for the State Chancellor's Office. I'm heading the development of that and the training of faculty members across the entire state on various NVIDIA certifications and courses.
Hello, my name is Matthew Wanta. I am the chair of the Allied Health Department at Saracosa Community College, as well as the director of nursing and health careers, curriculum specialist, and AI enthusiast. So one of the things that I'm also doing is I am connecting with the AI Digital Center to work on AI in healthcare for the entire state. So give you guys some ideas of what we can move forward with to help with that. And then I'm going to be talking about Nectar and how we implemented that as a pilot program for our child development and some of our nursing courses.
So as you've heard from our panel, and I'm Kevin Kelly, I'm the Interim Executive Director for the Digital Center for Innovation, Transformation, and Equity. You've heard a little bit about it during this conference, and hopefully you hear a lot more about it. We're in that generating awareness phase of our, it's only been a year since we've been around, and so we want people to know who we are and what we do. But as you heard, the folks here have been involved in various pilots across the system because the Digital Center, the philosophy is that we want to identify opportunities to explore emerging technologies, pilot them, and do research and see, did it actually impact student success and student retention, or did it change people's lives in some positive way? And if so, can we make opportunities available for all the colleges to participate in some way, whether it be a system-wide deal all the way down to an agreement that at least locks in a reasonable price or something like that for colleges that want to participate. So there are lots of different things, and again, because the faculty voice is so important, we'll be talking about specific projects, whether it be Play Lab and the Canvas AI tools, Dreamscape Learn, or NVIDIA's Deep Learning Initiative, or Nectar AI. Those are specific examples, but really we want to step back and say, like, how do we make sure that the faculty voice is included in conversations? Because we know there's a spectrum. I won't say at the love it and hate it spectrum, but I will say that there are people who have varying views on whether or not or how AI should be used in teaching and learning contexts. And we also have, the non-teaching context as well to consider, but we're going to be fairly focused on teaching and learning with a panel of faculty, right? So we're going to get started with some questions that we came up with, and again, we hope that you all will generate some questions as well. But our first question is, how did faculty voices inform the pilot projects that you participated in? And for ease sake, I put together some bullets that these folks can use as a reference, as long as the slide doesn't keep disappearing on us. And maybe, Andrea, we'll start with you.
Okay, I forgot to mention when I introduced myself, probably because I was a little bit nervous, that I was involved with the Play Lab pilot and also with the new AI tools in Canvas. How many people know that there are new AI tools in Canvas? Oh, okay, quite a few of you. A lot of our faculty are still figuring that out and learning about it. But in terms of our faculty, we've had the gamut from people that are all in. We've got people that are building bots, that are using, one of my psych professors uses ChatGPT actually, but he calls it Tilly, and has Tilly doing everything from helping create video scripts and lesson plans and rubrics to other people that are like, over my cold, dead body, will anybody ever use AI in my class? So as an instructional designer, I've been working with faculty along the gamut, and it's been anywhere from love to hate. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But I'll go ahead and pass it on to Garrett.
I forgot I had a mic right in front of me, so I'll make it easier so we don't have to pass them. So really for Dreamscape Learn, what this entailed was starting out, this is a pilot project just like all of these projects, so we're in early stages. So when we consider faculty voices in these conversations, it started off with a partnership with ASCCC and the Chancellor's office early spring to really launch a call of action for interest. And so developing that interest amongst faculty, so they hosted a few webinars to have these conversations. They invited faculty from Arizona State University, who's one of the founding partners of Dreamscape Learn, to really have more deep conversations in terms of just what are we doing, how are we going to do it, what is the efficacy of this, does it work, what is the workload for faculty, how does this work with students, all of those components. With that, we had 15 districts, 16 colleges sign on for this pilot, 22 faculty in this first year, and it's a 3-year process. So with that, there's a community of practice for these 22 faculty statewide, and they're across our state. And really the whole point of this community of practice is for them to utilize these tools together, figure out if they work, figure out if they like it, because that's great that it worked at Arizona State University. There's nothing wrong with that. We love that. However, we can't just take the data from Arizona State University and instantly apply it to the California Community College system, expecting the same results. So really this pilot is focused on making sure we see those same results that Arizona State University received, or maybe we see even better results. We do have some districts that have independent contracts with Dreamscape Learn, so that is happening. Glendale, Long Beach, Merced, Kern Community College District, those are the 4 districts that currently have separate agreements with the full virtual reality experiences. But this is really focused on online 2D biology. So that is where this pilot is starting. So I will say before I forget, if you are interested in the pilot moving forward, don't hesitate to talk to me after, because each year we want to bring about 25 faculty into a community of practice. So by the end of this 3-year contract, we've had about 75 faculty go through this to really assess what this tool means on a larger scale. So thank you, I'll pass it on.
So as a Sun Devil, I have to say go Sun Devils. But for the NVIDIA MOU, this great work that the State Chancellor's office worked on with our, in this case, NVIDIA, one of our industry partners, we needed to find a way to, as we all know, a lot of the times community college and our students are the ones that don't get the resources at first, that always get it at the end perhaps. There's this big digital divide as well between those who can and can't, and can afford it and can't. So, and then differences in the state. It's really easy to, let's say, or easier to educate folks in tech here in the Bay Area, for example, because we're in the Silicon Valley, right? It's a lot easier that now here than in other areas, although it's just as impactful to them as it is to us. It's changing jobs across the entire state. It is modifying, it's changing people's lives everywhere, no matter where they are. So our goal was to make sure that this was equitable, that this was available to all faculty across the entire state, that we could train them on an industry certified program that allows them to then teach these concepts and pass it on to the students who also would receive an industry recognized certification for completing this work. We wanted to do it all across the state, from our rural counties and colleges, agricultural colleges, because again, AI is affecting automation and the way we farm and the way we do manufacturing, et cetera. So we want to make sure that everyone had access to this training and then could pass it on to their students, to their communities, and benefit them where they're at. They don't have to come here, they can do it where they're at. And so a lot of the focus that we had was equity and access to everyone, and then allow it to now expand to other trainings, not just a high level, let's say deep learning training, but also expand to other ones like what is AI, basic intro to AI, so that now we can also reach out to not just the students trying to go into the full-on AI world, but also the people that just want to know more. Our communities, our adult learners, our ESL learners who are just starting in this world and may need some extra help. We want to make sure that it's available to everyone.
So with Nectar, what we wanted to do as far as faculty voices to inform the process with working with them was that one of the main goals was that the faculty had tight control, meaning that we wanted to, do simple uploads. We wanted to make sure that the tone was correct, and we wanted to mitigate hallucinations, which we know we have with AI. And so with that, we were able to do that. And what the analytics showed us was that confusion was lived by students. And through this pilot, we were able to take those analytics and determine what those pain points were and kind of alleviate that issue. And then it was really we used it for our child development Spanish-speaking cohort. Which there's a lot of confusion with taking a syllabus in English and asking things like, when is this due? What is APA? How do I, all these little type of confusion points. And so that was the basis of this pilot, and we did it with the one cohort. And so when we're talking about where our voices informed the pilot project, one of the statements was our voices weren't just heard, it was there, and it was able to build the guardrails for Nectar. So that's why we continue to use it and use it with other entities or other disciplines.
Thanks, Matt. We'll come back to the UDL coach.
Yep.
So the next question we wanted to ask our faculty panel is, what impact did you observe on students, if any? So maybe we'll start with Matt now and come back this direction.
Yeah, because it comes right back to those students with child development. So it was one single class, 25 students, and we had over 3,500 student messages into the Nectar system to help clarify things on the syllabus, referring to things like assignments, key concepts, APA. And so if you think about it, 3,500 messages. Of those 3,500 messages, how many times would those students actually email the instructor? And of those that actually emailed, imagine how much load that is on the instructor. This Nectar bot, was able to alleviate that confusion and that students not wanting to ask those questions. And so we thought that was just invaluable as far as the analytics were concerned. And then it showed those friction points, slowed those learning, the issues with APA and so on and so forth. So, and another thing is that these students can do this at 24/7. So they're not restricted to your office hours. They're not restricted to when, on the weekends and stuff like that. They can do it at any time, anywhere, to get the information and alleviate the confusion that they had. So, therefore, they're not waiting on an email from the instructor. And so that was a big, aha moment that we got from using Nectar.
And then for the NVIDIA project, we started our first cohort of trainees, of faculty trainees in the spring semester. And as we know, curriculum development takes a little while, so we have not seen yet the students being trained on this. That's coming. For example, at Evergreen Valley College, put the hat on. At Evergreen Valley College, we're starting our first AI course in entrepreneurship, in AI entrepreneurship in the spring semester. So we're going to start seeing the effects of these courses and these trainings and now passed on to the students. Our goal is to now, again, putting that workforce hat on that I wear, just train the workforce, train our, let's say, blue-collar AI workers that, or themselves, you know, they want to create their own company. They have an idea in their head. They just don't know how to get it to reality. We want to make sure that that can happen, and it's thanks to trainings like this for our faculty members who then can now pass that on to the students in a great way. And we also see, you know, faculty members, and we've heard stories about faculty members developing chatbots for their classes. Chatbots that can answer in any language, for example, that can really meet the students where they're at that point in their knowledge, in their learning journey. I think that's one of the most impactful things that we're seeing, and we saw some great examples this morning. I'm impressed still. About how can that work, and what, you know, yesterday Apple released the headphones that translate live. So I mean, so many great opportunities, and I'm a big Star Trek fan, so I'm so excited about that.
Raise your hand if you went through the Dreamscape Learn experience so far down in the common area. Okay, about half of you. If you haven't done that, make sure you do that, because I think this is one of those projects, until you put a headset on and see what it looks like, it's hard to envision. But think for a second, when you walked out of that experience, for those of you who have gone through it, every time a student walked out at Merced College, I could see the same reaction on their face. Except for one of the lessons where the matriarch of the family passes away, but there's a learning experience in that. But every other one of them, the student glow on their face instantly tells you enough. There's a new promo video that Dreamscape Learn has, and President Chris Foothill says, I'm surprised if you can't find the money to do this based on the impact that it's having on students. And that rings so true to me, because the impact that it does have on students is significant, not just anecdotally through conversation, but when you see them come out of there, that's amazing. But then the data that comes through Arizona State University is also to the point where Arizona State University no longer offers introductory biology labs as we probably all experienced when we went to college. Every one of them does Dreamscape Learn as their introductory biology lab courseware. Students are 1.7 times more likely to get an A in introductory biology compared to the traditional labs. Every student performs better in Dreamscape Learn compared to traditional lab settings. So that data rings true, and that's looking at about 45,000 students who have done that at Arizona State University. Chemistry is on the same track at Arizona State University in that same pattern. And something I really appreciate about what is happening right now, for those of you who have time, tune into our Board of Governors meetings. Take 2 hours out of your day, all the way up to 8 hours out of your day. Tune in, because the reason I say that, our Chancellor's office and our Board of Governors is taking the extra step to provide these opportunities to our system to support our students. And so if we don't recognize that as a system, I think we are doing a disservice to our students. So take that extra time and consider what's happening around us to support our students. And so when I look at things that are happening with Dreamscape Learn, I'd love to see the investment in pilot projects like this, because at the end of the day, it does directly impact our students. And if we can get them one step further than that 50% dropout rate in introductory STEM courses nationwide, that is a success, because those introductory STEM courses touch every one of our fields. No matter what field they're going to go into, whether it's just a general ed requirement or they're going to become a biologist or a scientist of some sort, they're going to go through these introductory biology courses or chemistry courses. So really tune into that. Go experience Dreamscape, see what it's all about, because after you have that headset on, then you can kind of envision what the next 5 to 10 years looks like in these immersive type of technologies. And again, with the support of the system like this, like never before, I think it's really important that we stay tuned to this. Thank you.
Hello? It's on? Okay, sorry. Most of my pilot was faculty facing, like using the AI tools in Canvas that help instructors, so I don't have a lot to say about the impact on students, except one quick anecdote. How many of you have used a chatbot in your classes? Okay, so quite a few of you have. For the ones, our instructors that have used them with students, they have gotten, they're fun, they're helpful, fun to play with. I wanted to share an anecdote about an instructor that used a chatbot in an interesting way with psychology. So they were studying, I think it's human development, and they were studying the notion of consciousness. How many of you think consciousness is in your body? Nobody? Nobody thinks it's actually built into your body? Okay, how many think it's like in your brain? Okay, well, the brain's kind of part of the body. Anyway, where is it then, y'all? Okay, it's not in your body, where is it? Right? I don't know the answer either. But so while they were exploring this topic, he had the students interact with the chatbot and ask the chatbot if it had consciousness. And interestingly enough, in some cases, the chatbot said, yes, it did. But it was great food for thought, for discussion, for critical thinking, breaking that down. And how can the chatbot have consciousness? And wait a minute, how much is hormones and the interplay of all these systems in our bodies? Anyway, thank you.
That is both exciting and scary. So, as you'll see when that slide pops back up, and if we see Dean, the tech guy, walking around in the hallway, we'll have to flag him down for that projector. But did faculty have an opportunity to give feedback to the technology partner that created the solution that was used as part of the teaching and learning experience? So not just as part of a pilot, but as feedback directly to the company or solution provider that created that. And I'm going to start on this end again with Andrea.
Okay, well, our faculty had a lot of opportunity to give feedback to PlayLab, building those chat bots. And they were part of a pilot where there was a lot of support and ongoing conversations with PlayLab and iterations. So, kudos to PlayLab for doing that. They also came to Flex Day and had some conversations with the faculty as well as a presentation. With the in-structure, with the new features in Canvas, we gave a lot of feedback through surveys. I don't think they actually incorporated our feedback, but we did give them some feedback. Yeah.
So for Dreamscape Learn, it was built in collaboration with faculty at Arizona State University. So faculty were directly involved in that. Albeit it wasn't our faculty at that stage when they initially developed, but so far Dreamscape Learn has been really receptive to feedback. When I was at Merced College, we had about 25 faculty attend either headquarters at LA or go to Arizona State University and provided critical feedback. Things that they wanted to see in the product, the roadmap for the product. And of course, Dreamscape Learn was really receptive to that feedback because they're trying to advertise to faculty and support faculty in this mission. So really, I think the early adoption of Arizona State University partnering with Dreamscape Immersive provided a lot of feedback and scope for what they want to do in the future. Also, individual colleges continue to take those visits and provide feedback. That's part of the roadmap of Dreamscape Learn, is to have that continual loop. And for us as the California Community College System, this community of practice pilot project that we're working on, we hope, like I said, to have 75 faculty provide critical feedback by the end of this pilot over the next 3 years. After those 3 years, we'll see where this project goes, but we want to maintain that. We are working on the evaluation processes right now to assess that, student experiences, faculty experiences, Canvas administrator experiences, because a lot of this functions and runs through the Canvas LMS. So we want to continue to have faculty voice in that, because at the end of the day, it's the faculty's decision if they want to adopt and use this in their teaching and learning practices or not. And so we want to make sure we have their voices in that room.
And same for the video project, we had, as part of the training that the instructors received over the course of a day and a half, they all provided feedback at the end of the training session. There was part of that they needed to tell them, how it worked, or if it worked for them, etc., what could be better. And then as part of the entire process, there was an interview that they had to complete afterwards to receive the certification. And in that interview also, feedback was able to be provided by the faculty members to the team, to the NVIDIA team, and to us, as they're completing their certification exam, basically, interview really. So it's built within it for faculty to be able to do that, and we're running a second cohort this fall semester. So there'll be more of a chance for that. More people from across the state as well. We're hoping to do this one online also, and there's going to be announcements through ASCCC and to many other local districts, etc., so that people can sign up for that one. It's going to be also a higher level one. It's going to be deep learning, so there has to be some knowledge of AI previous to that. But we are also expanding to other ones in the near future that anyone can take.
So for Nectar, absolutely, feedback was consistent and encouraged on a very regular basis. And through that pilot channel, what kind of happened is that faculty actually influenced source limits, the tone settings that I was talking about earlier, those analytics, what the faculty wanted to see from it, and that the most importantly for us was that multilingual support that we ended up getting. And so, and they have ongoing monthly feedback where faculty that are using across the state can come in and take a look at what has changed with Nectar, because they're continually updating, and then get feedback and then get ideas for what they can improve on or bring to the table for the next iteration of Nectar. So really good process, very great team with that.
Nice. So here is a question a lot of people might have an interesting answer.
What would you tell your faculty colleagues about using AI or emerging technologies as part of the learning experience, either as part of a pilot or in general if you're testing it out on your own without support from some sort of group? And maybe we'll start in the middle this time with, okay.
So this one is I'm a little biased. I'm very techie, and so it's easy for me to adopt something like this and to jump in. But ultimately, what we have to keep in mind is who our, let's say, customers are, who are our students.
And our students, they're afraid. They're worried that they're not being trained on what the job will be. And we've seen examples of that nowadays. We've seen students not being able to get jobs in fields that are, you think, especially in this area, in the Bay Area, that, oh yeah, there's so many jobs in programming, in computer science, etc. But now they're having some issues getting those jobs because, when they went to university, they were not trained on AI, whatever concept it is. And so I think that's where the community colleges are doing great. A lot of the community colleges are adopting up to 15 districts now are adopting new AI courses and training for students in various areas, not just in computer science and technology and CIT, et cetera, but also in other ones. We have faculty in our college that from math to, one of my faculty members is here, from math to other disciplines that are really interested in embedding it into their courses, et cetera, in the teaching. I think one important thing that I always tell my faculty, though, and I tell everyone, is just make sure that's blinking a lot. I know. Just make sure that everything's being done with ethics in mind. Ethics is very important. We have to make sure that we're not assigning personhood to the AI system. We're not calling it he, or we're making sure that it's the person using it that is doing that. It's not the computer system that told them the answer. No, you did that answer, so there has to be some accountability as well for work done. There has to be some guidance as well as part of that ethics and training. There has to be guidance from us, from our faculty members, and I count myself in that, to the students on how to use it, what's acceptable, et cetera, and how to do it so that everyone benefits, not just those who can.
If you have a student or a child who is anywhere from 2 years old to 25 years old, or any of your students kind of in that same age category, do any of you have the same feelings of you have to now learn a whole new vocabulary to stay in tune with what's happening around you? I know I feel that way. There's a lot of words where I'm like, what? That doesn't mean that. And so I think we all have those moments in our life. With this, I think Dreamscape Learn is one of those where we have to relate to our students. We have to adapt to our students. We have to consider what they're going through. Two important facts that stick out to me when I present this to colleagues is 85% of our incoming students in 2024 played video games. Dreamscape Learn lends to that environment. And so it is kind of that video game design, so therefore it is connecting with a lot of our students. Therefore, students have higher engagement. Therefore, students learn more because they're more engaged in their process. They're more connected to their learning experience. So I think we have to consider that. The other thing to consider that I always like to tell colleagues is for every dollar made in the movie industry, $7 is made in the video game industry. So for a lot of us, we hear box office numbers where Titanic made, say, $40 million over the weekend at the box office. For us, that was common vocabulary that we used to hear, these numbers, and that's how we judged how much money that movie made. In the video game industry, it's 7 times more. And so just recognizing the power when we hear from Stuart Knox talking about future-ready students and the jobs that are going to be available, we have to start thinking about those. And Dreamscape Learn, I think, lends to that. It's that video game design, it's that animation. There's a lot to be had there and to unpack. And so as colleagues, I think we have to work with each other to find those connection points. I'm not saying Dreamscape Learn is the only avenue to connect with students and to relate to students, but I do think it is one hook that is a possibility for a lot of our colleagues to be able to engage with faculty.
Okay, just don't want to repeat what's already been said. One thing that working with my faculty colleagues, it's keeping that human being in the equation. It's great, like the AI tools in Canvas that are really shortcuts for grading. One feedback we had was, for example, the discussion summaries, that really is helpful for grading. It's really not so helpful for responding to the students. What I found when I was using it with the course I was teaching at the time was that I tried just using the summaries, right? And it was telling me, basically that what the students said. But what I missed was that they were asking me questions in there somewhere. And when I actually went to the discussion post, it's like, I'm not really clear on this concept. And I'm like, oh, I need to answer them. Otherwise, we just have the AI like grading the AI, which kind of becomes pointless, right? Okay.
So what I would suggest for faculty is simply this: start small. Find a pain point that you have with your course. Say it's due dates. Say it's syllabus. Say it's APA or any of those things. Find your pain point. And one of the ways that you can find those pain points is to put a bot in there that they start asking questions, and on a weekly basis, you take a look at the analytics and find out what is the most common question, where is the confusion coming from, and then start focusing on those pain points. We're not trying to AFI the entire course. That's not the intent. The intent is to mitigate the confusion on the student side and to make your time more valuable into what you need to do is instruction, not answering the email 5 different times about a due date. Okay, so start off small, start off with what you know, and then you can move on from that point. And so that's what I would tell colleagues.
All right, so now we're going to address another topic that we hear often, which is we know that there are concerns about academic integrity in the teaching and learning context when it comes to AI. At the same time, we heard a clarion call from the Chancellor this morning that we need to prepare our students for an AI-enabled workforce. So how do we balance the two, right? How do we instill in students a desire to submit original work, use AI in responsible ways, and still think about, the curriculum enrichment where AI skills might be embedded in some of the courses and things like that. So I'm going to pose, it's a really simple question for my panel here. Andrea, you want to start us off?
Sure. What we've been talking about at Skyline College is working with it rather than against it, and finding ways to have the students engage in critical thinking and evaluating AI content rather than just wholesale have ChatGPT write your essay. It's very difficult to AI proof, which I've had this conversation many times. Those detector tools are not that accurate. but how can you find ways to make it authentic and real with the students and involve them in the process?
I think the number one thing I would highlight in teaching and learning practices is getting back to the why. Why are you in this course? What are you trying to achieve of being in this course? If it's as simple as you just want to put in a prompt to write your 5-page paper for you and hit submit, what did you learn from that experience besides how to put a prompt into ChatGPT, type the paper, and hit a submit button? So getting back to the why of learning, and that's something that really excites me about this AI future, is just bringing that why back to teaching and learning, because sometimes we lose track of that lens. So why are you taking Geography 101? Oh, is it just a general education? Are you interested in this topic? Do you want to be a geographer? Do you want to go into advanced GIS mapping someday? If you do, here's the steps that you need to take to get there. And I can tell you, submitting it into AI to write the 5-page paper about the background of GIS might not be the solution. So getting back to the why with our students, I think, is important to make sure we stay centered and connected to that.
And to me, it's I think we're all a little allergic to change, and especially sudden change like this happened. It was all of a sudden here, and students were all of a sudden using it, and we're all using it, and then the whole world is talking, and we're here now. And it feels like this was yesterday. Sometimes it feels like we just started this conversation a couple months ago. But I think as part of that, what we have to do is make sure we understand it ourselves. So we have to start there, because it's not going anywhere, and it's about how do we, just like computers when they came around, and we didn't go to the library anymore. We did everything on the computer and so on, but people were still, no, you have to do the library, not the computer, et cetera, et cetera. It's about how do we change our mindset in the way we teach. Teaching is an ever-evolving process. I think in the last session, somebody was saying about teaching cybersecurity like it was in 2012, and that shouldn't work anymore and shouldn't. So it's kind of like that, right? Teaching changes with times and it changes with technology, and it's about how do we implement the new, and how do we use it to help the students? Ultimately, as I said earlier, survey your students. What are they looking for? What are they thinking? Because they're the ones who are going to go out there after they leave your class, after they leave our colleges and universities, and get jobs. And are they able to get those jobs? And how do we support that now? Which is our mission. How do we support those students to get the jobs which are going to use AI no matter what? And how do we do it in a meaningful way? Because it is our job to do it in a way that really leads somewhere, not just a student. Because the students are teaching themselves. They're teaching each other. They're learning online, and that's how they're getting through. And so we have an opportunity here. This is not a bad thing. We have an opportunity to capture them, capture a generation that needs to be trained on AI, and those who already kind of use it and need to get there.
So when we're talking about academic integrity, we have to set boundaries. We know that they're going to use it, and what we need to do is we need to set those boundaries right off the bat so that they say submit or require drafts of their use of AI. Give them ideas of, okay, for like nursing, what we will do is we will use either Perplexity or another bot as a basis for this, and you have to show that interaction with that AI. You have to show what your reflections, your thinking process, because at the end of the day, we've talked about this before, it's a tool. And so as instructors, we have to use it as a tool, and the students need to use it as a tool. And basically teaching the students how to think with the AI to get to their end goal.
Let's see if it goes.
Okay, apologies for the technical difficulties. So the next question, and then we want to come to the audience with questions. So when dealing with new technologies, how do we consider the humans in the room, faculty and students alike? So we heard earlier when the Chancellor spoke about the humans approach, the acronym humans, and then there's another one, people. And so it's evident even in how we create our acronyms that we want people to be in the driver's seat, not just in the loop, but in the driver's seat. And so I'm going to ask my panel, and we'll start with Matt this time around, how do we do that?
So I took a while to take a look at this question, but AI extends access. So it supports our after-hours questions and answers, but it doesn't replace us. Okay, it doesn't replace office hours. It extends it, and it gives an opportunity to students on their time. And so that's one of the biggest things that I got from this. And then the faculty are then teaching, get to focus on the people, because those little tiny questions, those confusions are taken out of the equation. So you have more time to actually have that interaction with your students. The one instructor was doing that said this statement: AI gave me back time to teach humans, not chase housekeeping emails. And so that, I hope that resonates, because that's exactly what it did for him. And therefore the students got a better experience. And we're talking about English second language students. And so it was really neat to see. So.
And then for me, it's also about, there's a learning curve, like with every technology, with really anything, there's a learning curve, and there might be a really steep learning curve in some cases. So let's acknowledge that from the start, and bring people up to speed, everyone to the same level, not just those who already have a lot of knowledge in this. And some of us have been playing with this since a few years now, and we are able to perhaps just get there faster. But we need to acknowledge the learning curve. We need to make sure, again, that people are being served where they're at, that people are, this is not just something that we do in the Bay Area or in the LA area or San Diego area where technology might be developed faster. We need to make sure that our agricultural colleges are learning how this is changing their work and the work that they in their communities are doing with respect to automation and robotics. We need to make sure that just try it. We need to make sure that we are teaching our older adults how to just jump into this, which I'm taking a couple faculty members to Fremont actually, and teaching a community organization of retirees how to start it, how to get started on AI, because this is what's going to help us ultimately. It's not just our students; it's really our community that needs to learn how to be brought up to speed on this.
Well said to both of them. The only piece I would add is just simply we should embrace technology where it's at its best. So there's things that humans do best. There's things that technology does best. And so we should make sure we identify those. All of us have probably an example in our life. If I want to quickly heat food, microwave is a great avenue to do that very quickly. I don't have to start a fire. I don't have to cook that food. Technology is better served right there because it opens up my human capital time to go do something else. So we all have a different example in our life, so think through that. Embrace technology where it is at its best to open you up to do the other things. So in terms of teaching and learning, figure out what takes you away, and I think both of them just did exactly that. Where do you get taken away from doing more tasks that are maybe a simple email response to students in terms of, as we saw with our student skit this morning, it's in the syllabus. Go read the syllabus. Well, what if there was a chatbot that could embrace the syllabus, scan through the syllabus, and respond to those students with those types of questions and answers? That is a great use of technology where it's at its best. Therefore, me as the faculty member, it opens up my time to work on some of the more complex conversations to help my students deeper understanding of any sort of topic, whatever it may be. So think through that, embrace technology where it's at its best.
I would just add, working with the students to consider marginalized voices, especially to the extent that AI is just trained on what is out there on the internet. I'm not talking about your own chatbot right now. I'm just talking about generic chat GPT or what have you, that it may be giving a very homogenized, is that a word, homogenized? Homogenized viewpoint, or simply giving you a middle-of-the-road perspective, which might be a very white, Eurocentric perspective, or it might not be, but having students think through that, even in their prompting, and looking at whose voices are included and whose are not. And I think that's one thing that I would say about focusing on humans. I'm also concerned, as I'm an artist and a designer, and I'm also concerned about, again, with the homogenization, that the students need to apply their own original thinking. AI might be great to generate the cute picture of my dog in a pink tutu, which I did at the Adobe booth downstairs, but then do their own interpretation and apply their own critical thinking or their own creativity to it. So, okay.
Wonderful. All right. In the last 14 minutes of our session, we now want to turn our attention to your questions, and then we'll have some time for some closing statements, because I know folks have QR codes to show and things like that. So raise your hand if you have a question for our panel, and I'll come bring you to the microphone.
Hi, I'm Tori Davis. I'm at Skyline College, Dean of Academic Support and Learning Technologies. And I want to talk to you about my dual roles. And I think my question would be for Matthew, because you mentioned earlier about reducing hallucinations. And then there were other comments about, using AI for what it does best, right? So in my teaching and learning side as an adjunct professor, flawless. It is amazing and love it. As an administrator, when I try to I'm trying to build a tool using the PlayLab bot for all of our policies and procedures, so I can query the system and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. It is seriously hallucinating, making up new policies that don't exist. How is that happening?
Yes.
and is there anything I can do about it? So one of the strategies it told me was to take the PDF, make sure it was OCR'd, right? I did that, and I don't know what else to do.
Well, okay, so the difference with Nectar in that relationship, and by the way, Chloe is in the back, and she is a perfect resource. Visit her booth. But with Nectar, you can just train it on your data only, meaning you can put your syllabus, you can put your modules, your assignments, and it will not go out to the internet or any bot to find additional information to therefore give it hallucination effects. So it's only trained on that information and that information only, and if it cannot get that information, it will tell the student, I don't know. So that is huge help.
It's the same, by the way, for, we heard about it this morning, Notebook LM by Google. You upload the document that you wanted to reference, and it'll only look inside of that document. So same, and you saw what it can do this morning. I put one of the first things I did when it came out about a year or so ago. I put the faculty contract into it and turned it into a PDF, into a podcast. And I have an hour commute each way every day. And so when I started working there, I started listening to the faculty contract as a podcast.
really are.
And I did not fall asleep driving up and down the 880, so it worked out. So you can do little things like that that really help you, and it only references that document that you uploaded. That's Notebook LM by Google.
Other questions? Oh, yeah, you got the mic. I'm sorry.
Right.
Where'd he go?
Yeah, I just wanted to stay out of the profile. So other questions from the group?
I'd like to ask a follow-up to that question. Can you not also query the tool, whatever element, and you can say, only look at this document, or only look at these types of sources like NCES data, or whatever it might be, and won't that limit it on its search, or will it still hallucinate?
No, it'll limit. So both Notebook LM and Nectar can do that. You can assign the
Just these resources,
right these resources. You can actually open it up into, say, ChatGPT or Claude, and you can select which one you actually want to use, and that's growing day by day. Or you can restrict it to just that information, or you can build a specific Nectar bot to just say your syllabus, and that is it. And it's locked down. It only takes the information off of that.
Can I add to it? I think it varies a lot by tool and model, because they've recently learned, and I think this was announced maybe a couple of days ago, just talking generic LLMs, right? Not the specific bots, that they hallucinate because they were trained to reward educated guesses. So if in your prompt engineering, if you are prompting it, don't guess. If you don't know, tell me I don't know. And I think some of that might be built into Nectar and others.
I would highly encourage and recommend as well that whenever you do that and ask something like that to any of these models, that you go after the source, that you ask, where did you get this from? And it'll give you a link, and then you go in, because I do this with laws all the time, like the laws about dual enrollment or about anything in the state regarding Title V, education title, right? And then I ask it, okay, where does it say that? Give me a link. And then it gives me a bunch of links, and none of it say that. So just be careful with that. Just ask for where it's coming from, and then you can go look for it yourself. This is like when we teach the students how to use it, do your research. Go to the bottom of where it came from and ask it to give you that, because otherwise it made it up.
So I want to go back to changing the culture on your campus. So I'm from Santa Rosa Junior College. We have a union. We have an academic senate that is not moving forward at all. The Nectar email went out. There's already emails against it. What was the other one that went out? There's a group of us here that, we're all in, right? But it's so small. And so I know all of you down in Silicon Valley, I feel like you are right there and got them, but how do you pull those along with you?
So you don't have to. There's other people that have said this. There's going to be people that are, no matter what you say, what you show them, they're not going to get on that train. But as far as when we're talking about academic senate, when we talk about things like Commingo, we talk about Nectar, we talk about all these things, ChatGPT that's incorporated into Canvas now, it's not a academic senate issue. It's not a 10+1. It's not a voting item. It is an instructor by instructor situation. So whether you want to use it or not, that is your choice. It has nothing to do with the institution or anything. And so I've argued this, and I clearly got my way, because it's not a 10+1 issue. It's not a voting item. It's there for you to use as a tool, just like Cengage, using Cengage in your system. If you have that link, it's just a toggle on or off. And it's instructor by instructor, so they have no merit.
We had somebody that did a chat bot to put on their website page, and immediately was told, you need to take that down. We are not allowed to have those.
Academic freedom.
I was going to say that, academic freedom. Yeah. Faculty members have, they can teach if they want to use it in the classroom. I'm going to put my dean hat on. Can you imagine if I tell them you can't use that? Like I would, oh my God, I would get fired so quickly. Still, like,
She was a manager of a department.
Ultimately, you're the manager of the department, and they can't, as long as it's not against the policies of the entire district, as stated by the board, there's nothing they can do, and there's nothing that has to come down, because they're following policy just as stated. I agree with what you said. It happens at every college, even in Silicon Valley. We have people at our college that are very, no, I will never ask it. I may have lost my cool once, and I ask, do you use Grammarly? Do you use autocorrect? Do you use, and I started asking questions like that, because they were like, I will never use it in my life. All that, you're using it. Everyone is. It doesn't matter who you are, we're all using, in some way, we're using some AI system in the background. If you have an iPhone, you're using it every day. Like every time you unlock it, you're automatically using it, basically. So those folks, you can never bring them along. Work with the people that you can move forward, and then change the culture from little by little, from the bottom up. Just start changing culture that way. I am lucky, though, that at Evergreen here in San Jose, the faculty got together already, put together an AI statement, syllabus statement on their own. They were moving forward on their own without me having to push them much. So that was very lucky. But even here, there's colleges that are also kind of like, no. So it happens.
So we have time for one more question, then I want to make sure that the crew gets a lightning round of last thoughts and things that they want to share, and so that we can get Angel out of the room in time for his class.
I'm going to take it to the
Sorry.
other side. And are you afraid of over automating, and with the guidelines and requirements of regular and substantive interaction, how do you balance the two?
I can speak to that from the @ONE online network of educators perspective. I think regular and substantive interaction obviously is extremely important, and we want to maintain that integrity with our students as faculty members. And so if you think about that over automation, are there things that can be done to promote online learning and help that student learn where I didn't have to give them every single response to every piece of material, whether it's responding to every individual discussion comment, every individual assignment, every single quiz? Are there automations that I can build in? Absolutely. Can I have it automatically grade my entire quiz, the 40 points that are there? Yes, I can have it do that. What is the rich feedback that I'm giving the student on top of that, though? So find those avenues where there is automation that is available, but don't rely strictly on that. We've all seen different use cases of this. We've seen where the horrible cases where maybe a faculty didn't log into a 9-week course for 9 weeks, and it auto-ran. It happens. I've seen it firsthand. So think about those kinds of things. What kind of experience are the students getting from that? What are they learning from that? So think through that a little bit. So I want to say use automated tools, but use them to your advantage. But think through, what is the student getting out of this experience, and what am I doing to help them learn and to pivot and shift? Just because it auto-graded, that's excellent, but there's other pieces of information that I need to be able to help my students on. So it's not an easy question. We do have a bunch of resources available. We have webinars on that exact topic. So I'd love to connect with you or anyone who has questions on that.
And the way I see it and the way that I approach my faculty to adopt it is it frees you to do things that you've always wished you could do for your class. So I no longer have to do this so intensely all the time. I'm not longer spending so much time reading every single comment, etc., and all the replies from every other student. But now I can set up meetings with every student throughout the semester where I can meet one-on-one and do some interaction there, where I'm asking them questions or helping them through something, or I can do things like that now that I couldn't do before because there was just no time with so many classes. Let's say I teach 5 classes online. It stacks up very quickly, but now I can do those other things that will help the students that I could never do before. Even if it's just connecting them to counseling, connecting them to basic aid, connecting them to some office that they just didn't know they had access to. But in those interactions that I have now with them, I'm able to help them further, not just academically, but then to be successful overall and persist. Because sometimes they just drop out because they had some issue and we could have helped. But no one, they didn't tell anyone, right? And students are more willing to talk to the faculty themselves than to talk to some dean in an office who sounds scary and they've heard he's a little intimidating. So it's a lot easier to just do it that way, where the faculty approach the students and then provide that information there. So it's an excellent question, by the way, and that's not one I've heard often or at all, really. But it's just about refocusing and reframing what you can do now because of that.
Well, and to combine those two answers, first, regular and substantive interaction involves interaction between the instructor and the students, not the AI and the students, right? And so that's making sure, as Angel said, we want to make sure that those are around the course material, the course content, the course concepts, and in a deep way, as opposed to, hey, it's on the syllabus. Those types of questions AI might be able to answer better. So I do want to respect that we're almost to the end of our time. Do you have anything that you want to share with the crowd before you go? Because he.
Go first. This way. Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you go to the next slide, I believe, or is the slide before, just wanted to show.
The one before.
Yeah, that one. So what we're also doing right now is we're doing another pilot, a different, I guess, way to use Nectar and using discussions to build critical thinking in nursing. And so the way we've based this is we've built this prompt in there, and it's a scenario-driven practice. And we have those guardrails put in place, and then what happens is then students go through this whole scenario, and they come back with a reflection on how this happened, and they're able to then bring that to class, and we discuss it even further, and it helps to build critical thinking skills that they may not necessarily get in normal practice. You may not even get it when you're out and actually working for years down the road, but we're able to do it here and start developing that critical thinking skills well before they're out in actual practice. And so we're really excited to see what the analytics come back with this. And we're going to take a look at some critical thinking with the Board of Registered Nursing BVMPT from NCLEX to take a determination on what those scores coming in and exiting these courses looks like. I expect them to do well. So.
Can you go to the? I just wanted to leave you with this one. These are just some two tools. One of them you can use right now. The other one is more college-wide. These are just. Somebody said it earlier. Try something. Don't try everything. If you're not, used to using AI tools, etc., pick one. Do one thing, and just master that. Don't start picking every single tool and try to do them all at once, because then it will be a mess. Just pick one, get good at it, and use it at the utmost. That would be NotebookLM. I really enjoy that tool a lot. And you saw it this morning and what it can do nowadays. It does multiple languages. I've not been paid by Google to say this. Multiple languages. You can ask it the podcast now. You can interrupt them and ask them questions halfway through, which before you couldn't do that at all, and it was only in English. But now you can do more than that. And you enter, your document. I put my OER stuff, my readings, into it for my class and turn it into a podcast. And now the students can ask it questions based on whatever I upload it to the system, and they make jokes. Anyway, so it's a great tool. The other one, Campus Insights, is just a more like chatbot wide for the college tool that maybe your colleges might want to get interested in. It does multiple languages, so the students can start typing in multiple languages and switch languages, and it'll respond back in whatever language you're entering. And you can ask it to, students can ask it things like, I can only take classes Wednesdays and Thursday evenings. And can you please give me a schedule for my degree in blah for the fall semester? And it looks into your college, it looks at your published schedule, and it puts out an entire schedule for that student who can only take classes Wednesday, Thursday evenings, what classes they can take to progress in their degree. So there's a lot of tools out there that they can help the students so much without having to backlog the counselors. Now the counselors can focus on the students and helping those that really need the help, rather than every single student that perhaps they have an easy question, but they took an entire hour to get that answer. Now they can get help through the college itself and leave those very valuable hours to help the students that really need help. So things like this can really help overall the entire college for teaching. Tools like NotebookLM and I already forgot it. Nectar, thank you, can really help a lot the teaching part of everything. Thank you.
Take 30 minutes out of your time during this conference, go check out Dreamscape Learn, go through it. Once you go through it, then you can kind of visualize what the next 5 to 10 years looks like in terms of immersive technologies with AI integration. So that would be my challenge to you. Take that time, go see that. If you know any biology faculty who would want to participate in the community of practice for the 26-27 academic year, absolutely come connect with me, because we would love to have them join.
Okay, and you might, just echoing what they said, if you haven't played with some of these tools like Nectar or PlayLab, I'm new to Nectar, but I'm going to be trying it next week. Here's a bot that I built for Universal Design for Learning, so this is actually for faculty. If you want to play with it, feel free. Check out these tools, play with them yourself, and see what you come up with. Iterate, iterate, iterate. The first version of a bot you build is not going to be the last.
Fantastic. Well, can you join me in thanking the panel for sharing the faculty voice? All right, I know that there's going to be a closing session soon. From the Digital Center perspective, know that we will be spinning up more pilots, and we're going to be asking founding partner districts as well as other districts around the state to join in those pilots. And so we're hoping that we can keep that faculty voice and contributions going. And next year we'll have some of you on this panel. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you at the closing session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will.
Yeah, good luck. I'm driving. Good luck driving.
Hey, how are you?